Chief Advisor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, thank you for taking out time for an interview with DW. So, you were sworn in last month as the head of Bangladesh interim government after former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was forced to resign and flee to India following a student-led mass movement. What are the main challenges you are facing in your new role?
Well, lots of challenges. One is kind of taking responsibility of a country after a huge eruption, a revolutionary situation that the students have created, and which led to the fall of the regime which was occupying the country. And everything was in total disorder, because one thing of the revolutionary activities of the young people and the fact that the government, which was holding the power before, they destroyed almost all institutions, dysfunctional institutions. Economy was in shatter. Our inflation is at a high level, and banking system collapsed. Civil administration wasn't totally directed to establishing the authority of the government, which wanted to rule over the people. So you inherit that in a kind of a revolutionary transition. You don't know where to begin, because everything has to be restarted in a different way. So you don't want to follow the same old path of doing things. And people who are running the country, and officials and institutions, they are no good in doing the things that the students wish us to do. So we had to redesign everything. So it's only 1 month back. So within 1 month, what we have to do now is to bring order to the chaos and then improve the quality of administration and match the expectation of the people.
You said recently that the interim government would undertake reforms before holding elections. What kind of reforms are we talking about here, and how long will it take to implement them?
When you talk about reform, this was the kind of wish list for the students and the common people who joined the revolution, to reform everything, because everything was done in a way to promote single person, single family. The whole thing belonged to them. So we want to get out. We want to establish citizens' rights, human rights, democracy, and everything that that goes with a good governance. So we want to bring that. So this is our starting point where we do that. And that expectation has to be met. This is where we do. How long will it take? We'll give it our best. We just got to the first month. One is to bring order. Number one, this is a tall order, and we have to do that. And ultimate is an election. Before the election, we have to get all the reforms, reform on everything, in civil administration, reform in healthcare, reform in education, reform in judiciary system, reform in the electoral laws, you name it. It's a whole long list of reforms that you have to go through. So we have to go through that whole process. We just announced 6 commissions right now, actually today. Commissions which will work on establishing the norms for administrations, norm for police administration, norm for justice system, and so on. So and so many more to come. And we announced that these are the first 6. Many more commissions will be formed so that we can concentrate and build up a consensus. There's lucky thing for us, there's a tremendous amount of consensus. One very sensitive thing, reform the constitution. So we have been requested, and we have been feeling that this demand from the people that we must amend the constitution to make it doable, because it has been amended in a wrong way. So we don't use this constitution anymore. So we have to go back and create a constitution that fits our emotions, fits our present situation, so that we never again we go back to the old way of things that happened to us. So there's a long list of reforms before we get the election. So this is where we are right now.
Okay, so the next question is, critics say the interim government's job is to hold elections, not to embark on administrative reforms. What is your take on it?
I don't think anybody says that in Bangladesh. I mean, if you hear it, probably somewhere else. Because we have been meeting all kinds of people to check with that. All political parties says we need reform. So there is no disagreement about reform among all sets of political parties. Civil society, they have been campaigning for it. So this is one area that we have a total consensus. We must agree on amending the constitution. But there's a disagreement on that issue too. Some says you have to create a new constitution. So it's a complete constitution you have to write. This is one view. Another view is don't do the whole thing. Just amend the most important thing that we need right now, rather than rewrite the entire constitution. So this is the only differences. And our own view is we should not go through the rewriting of a new constitution. We should be focusing on the major issues of constitution and build a consensus. We cannot do anything without a consensus. Because our strength comes from the consensus. If we can establish the consensus, we go ahead and do that.
There have been incidents of quote-unquote mob justice with some minority groups and members of the ex-PM Hasina's party reportedly being attacked. How is your administration trying to control the situation?
One is post-revolution situation. Yesterday, people were being killed in the street. Tomorrow, you said everything is calm and quiet and civilized. It doesn't happen like that. It's a kind of, as I said, eruption. So during this little transition, some incidents have happened, yes, and our government is trying to make sure that it doesn't continue, so that there's no violation of law. So you follow strict laws, officials are instructed, police are instructed to do the right thing, and so on. And I think we have reached that point. Today, I don't think you'll hear on September 11, you will have those kind of things. These are reference to early August, when things were very unruly at that time. So I hope it's over, and we'll move on from here.
So my next question is that India is Bangladesh's biggest neighbor and also an economic powerhouse. Both countries depend on each other economically and are linked culturally. While the previous government maintained close ties with India, is your administration moving in the opposite direction?
I don't think in Bangladesh anybody can go in the opposite direction, or any country can go in an opposite direction with the neighbors. India is not only the biggest neighbor, it's the only neighbor, because India is all around us. So there's no question about having another neighbor. It's good that we have India as a neighbor. It's a very forward-looking country. We want to shake hands with each other, move on together. And that's what our future is. So of all the countries in the world, Bangladesh must have the best of relationship with India, out of its own necessity and out of its own acquaintances and the similarity of the things that we do together. We share each other's history. So there's no escape route for Bangladesh to do something else. So that's what any government will try to do that, and will continue to do that. We have best of relationship. But as a neighbor, you always some problems. Water problem of intrusion from people moving from one country to another country, to young citizens of Bangladesh who were killed in the border recently. I don't think that was the intention of the government of India, but somehow this happens. So it upsets people in Bangladesh. Why do you have to shoot at innocent people? Nobody's attacking you. Those kind of things. So these are skirmishes. These are things that we have to address, and there is no differences of opinion. India doesn't say that we will go and do that. India will never say that. No civilized government will say that. So how to avoid such situation? Water is a problem. And it's always a problem in upper riparian, lower riparian. Even within India, they have problems with upper riparian, lower riparian. So it's not this is Bangladesh, so we have created problem. It's a tricky thing. So we have to work together. And there are international ways of solving that. We will follow that path and make a very happy solution.
Economics is one of your main areas of expertise. What measures have you taken to rebuild the economy since taking the reins of the country?
It's not about expertise in economics, it's simply bring order. Economy was not done in a way that it can function. It became a kind of an opportunity to make huge money. Money siphoned off from Bangladesh through government channels, through bank channels, and so on. Contracts were signed not for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of a family or family members and something like that. So those ugly things that you see when a government goes in the wrong direction, things happen, terrible things happen in the economy and so on. So this is what we are struggling to bring order in this thing. So you don't need a big economist to solve it. It's simply a matter of good governance. Follow the rules, follow the discipline. Central bank never played the role a central bank is supposed to play. Banks were not playing the rules, playing the role that the banks are supposed to play the roles. So those are the kind of how to bring order and make institutions follow policies which are already laid down. Violation is not accepted. So those are the kind of environment we are trying to create.
Bangladesh hosts over 1 million of Rohingya refugees who fled Myanmar to escape violence. There are now reports that more Rohingya Muslims want to take refuge in Bangladesh as a civil war has started in Myanmar's Rakhine state. Yes, yes. Will your government let refugees in, and how will you deal with the Rohingya issue?
The Rohingyas are trickling in as trouble begins in Rakhine. More and more presence of the arms conflict in the nearby area. In Rakhine, Rohingyas are trying to find a way to escape that. They're coming towards Bangladesh. We can't stop them. We can't push them back. Pushing them back means we are pushing them to death. I don't think any country can do that. So we welcome people who come, let them come in. But it creates problem for us because we already have nearly 1 million Rohingyas living in the country. We don't know what is the future of that. Then on top of it, we have 200, 300 people almost every day coming in. These numbers builds up very quickly. So this is an additional burden. So we are worried about it. We are trying to draw attention of the international community how to handle this. We don't have a solution right now, but we kept the door open. We cannot push them back. That's absolutely unacceptable. But we will be discussing this with our friends around the world, how to make sure that this is shared with Bangladesh. Bangladesh should not be the only country taking care of the Rohingyas. And luckily, many countries have offered to get some Rohingyas in their own countries, although it's not a large number compared to what we have. But if you feel comfortable, you can probably every country share some burden with Bangladesh. We can ultimately find a solution in that, and also trying to bring pressure on Myanmar government to take them back. It's their citizen, and rehabilitate them so that a peace can be established with them and the government of Myanmar. So these are our efforts, and we are very, very grateful to the international community for helping us to take care of all the Rohingyas.
Lastly, when is the interim government planning to hold fresh elections?
As soon as possible. That's our mandate. We want to come to the election and have a decent election, beautiful election, and celebrate the victory of a particular party or whatever party which comes in, hand over the power to the newly elected government. So this should be as brief as possible. We cannot give you date and time right now. There's only 1 month. We don't know exactly how much time each one of those reforms will be needed, because everybody agrees that we must complete the reform procedure first, and hold the election.
Professor Muhammad Yunus, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.